Three common color analysis discussion points I've been having with clients over Zoom calls. Just like perhaps you learn about color analysis from me, I learn a lot from clients during Zoom calls on how they feel after they receive their results and questions that come up. And so I'm posting this in hopes this video helps you if you and I don't have a Zoom call. The first common theme is around people who receive perhaps a palette where the colors on their own are quite bold. And so I'm just holding up a winter palette as an example. I find this commonly happens with, say, warm springs, true springs, bright springs, bright winters, like the brighter palettes. And so using true winter as an example, I find a lot of people go, oh my goodness, these colors are on their own are so bright. What are people going to think when I start wearing these colors? In these cases, I usually remind the client what color analysis is. Color analysis is about matching the undertone, value, and intensity of colors with you. And when you do that, all focus is on you and you appear vibrant. And so somebody who is, say, a true winter, given these bold color suggestions to wear, yes, I do agree that these colors on their own, if you hold them up on their own, are quite bold, but when they're on you, they actually add vibrancy and look quite natural on you. Wearing colors not in harmony with you, say softer colors like true summer, tend to look out of harmony and look like something's off. It creates disharmony. And so these bold colors align with your coloring and create harmony. People feeling this way when receiving palettes with these bolder colors, I usually suggest focusing on, say, the less bold colors to start. So for instance, the True Winter palette has like black and grays and navy you could try, perhaps the burgundy range here. So there's options that perhaps are a bit safe to test out and see how you feel, and then add on the bolder colors as you go about your color analysis journey. I'll just pause here though and stop on the yellow. If you haven't seen my initial color analysis reference orientation video, I do talk about yellow in palettes in that video, where I suggest many palettes don't wear the yellow in their palette in abundance. So True Winter would be one of those palettes where I would say just wear it as a small accent color perhaps. I wouldn't be suggesting a True Winter wear this in significant quantities. I'm also trained in color healing, and I've shared in other videos, and in case you haven't seen them, if you're having a little bit of denial in regards to your palette, I usually suggest starting off with the green and trying out the greens in your palette, because green is a balancing and harmonizing energy, and perhaps it will open you up more to the palette if you try out the greens. So many people on my Zoom calls ask about contrast levels and why they have fair skin, say, and darker hair and darker eyes and received a soft palette. And somebody with dark hair, fair skin, and darker eyes can really be in any color analysis palette, in my opinion. And so if you're looking at your surface coloring to decide your color analysis result and saying, okay, there's contrast with my hair color and skin, therefore I must be one of the higher contrast palettes, that's sort of a little bit of a way to lead you astray in a self-color analysis process, in my opinion. I always say let the color analysis process in terms of color comparisons ultimately decide what color palette you are, and let that color palette determine your contrast level. There are so many people who have, say, dark hair, fair skin, dark eyes, and walk away from my service and receive a soft palette, and they are in shock. And so I tell you these things to sort of avoid that situation. In the color analysis references digitally that I give out, I'm just using the True Winter example here again. If contrast is applicable to your palette, there'll be a color dimension section, and on the winter one it says sharp contrast. Another word for that would be high contrast, and so refer to that in determining what your contrast level is, would be my advice, because again, color analysis is about matching the undertone, value, and intensity of colors with you, and doing the color comparisons on you does that, and the palette will define your contrast level. I'll just say again, before I get a bunch of emails, if it's not listed in your color dimensions what your contrast level is, it means it's really sort of not an important piece of information for your palette in terms of defining the looks that you put together. And just to recap, contrast is related to the value scale. So it's differences in value between, say, dark hair and fair skin and what have you. But most of the higher contrast palettes are the brighter palettes. And so I sometimes will goof on my words because I'm thinking miles ahead and say, high contrast is related to, the brightness scale. And that's because of what I just said. But in reality, contrast is related to the value scale. Third theme that comes up a lot in my color analysis Zoom calls is around these online color analysis groups. I've had many people leave those calls saying, I have to stop participating in those online color analysis groups. And the scenarios that I'm hearing people say that in is, they've heard what their color analysis palette thoughts were from those groups, and it was way off. Another scenario would be they were experiencing some denial, and they made posts in those groups about their color analysis results, and before even trying out their colors suggested by any professional, frankly, and received a whole bunch of feedback around how they couldn't be the palette that a professional said they were. I'm not just talking about me again, any professional, and heard a ton of other palettes that they should be trying out, and it was a complete waste of their time. Like, I think in those groups, they're fun. I'm not against those groups at all. I think you really have to ask the question of anyone commenting in those groups, what system are you using, and what is your training and experience in that system, and have that as input into what feedback you may listen to, perhaps. I've had so many calls with people who, have dark hair, dark eyes, and, receive, say, a True Spring palette from me, and posted in those groups, and people commented, oh, there's no way you can be that palette, and what have you. And I'm telling you, with dark hair and deeper eye color, you can be a True Spring. You can be most of all palettes with that scenario in terms of your coloring. Sometimes I'm finding participating in those groups can lead to a bit of distress with clients, and color analysis to me is supposed to be fun and add to your sparkle. And so in general, if you are getting a color analysis done or participating in color analysis groups and are experiencing distress from color analysis, I would stop color analysis from being on your mind. To me, it's a situation where it's supposed to add to your sparkle, and that's not a situation where it's adding to your sparkle if there's distress and what have you around this topic. To me, it's absolutely normal in the color analysis world if you get evaluated in 2 different color analysis systems with different trained and experienced professionals, and there's professionals online too who haven't been to training or experience, so be aware of that and take that into consideration when enrolling. But it's normal to get different results from different professionals, and my advice with your color analysis result, whoever you receive it from, just try it out and see if you like it or not. And let's have fun with color analysis.